Hello, everyone. It's Sue Tetzloff with Capstone Leadership Solutions. Today with you for this live event where we're going to be talking about communication and in particular about feedback and the kind of communication and feedback that actually can help your organization and each individual in it as it's working to improve or make changes happen. And we know that change is hard. Humans, we don't like change very much. We like things to kind of go about the same. And so when we're trying to make improvements as individuals or collectively as groups and entire organizations, this can be a pretty big feat. And so this tactic that I'm going to teach you today has actually got two parts to it. When I teach you this tactic, you can imagine that if this was the way we communicated in our entire organization, if every individual in it every day used these two techniques, you can imagine how it would really help foster individuals to always be improving and collectively groups to be able to improve and make changes successfully. So, why is it important, in particular, this idea of communication in the form of feedback and conversations related to feedback? Why is it important? When we go across the country and we talk with groups of leaders and employees and we look at employee survey results and what people are saying there, they'll often tell us that they're really thirsty for feedback, right? And that's not in the form of an annual performance evaluation once a year from their leader. I mean, they're really thirsty for that kind of day-to-day feedback. How am I doing, right? Good or bad? How am I doing? And the other thing is it's not just the job of leaders and organizations that want to be great. It can't just be the leaders that are the ones providing feedback. So it takes everybody. So this is one of those things that, in mature cultures and organizations where we're adult professionals, we can all do this, right? It's not just the job of leaders. And, the other thing that we often will assess, people will tell us about, hey, I've experienced it myself, is, if you want to give feedback to someone, sometimes we just go silent on it. We think, is it our place? Should we say anything, right? So too often we go silent on it, or, worse yet, we might talk to others about it, right? So if there's something that we want to give somebody feedback on, we might withhold it from them, but talk about it with others, so that's kind of that behind your back kind of stuff, which isn't helpful, right? It's not going to make anything improve. It's not going to, promote positive change. And in fact, it might work in the opposite way. It might actually make things worse and be perceived as negative. So let's get into it. So these two techniques I want to teach you, some of you, they're not going to be new to you, but I want to package them a little different and give a couple little tips here maybe you haven't heard from us before. So I want to talk about two feedback conversations that we can have with our peers, with our boss even, if you're a leader, with your employees, anyone, right? Even at home, your friends, family, like this could be used anywhere. But today we're talking about it in the workplace. So one of them is the compliment and one is the call out. And these two conversations, the outline for them is exactly the same. So the outline for both conversations, whether it's the compliment or call out, the outline is exactly the same, but you're either going to apply it to something that is a compliment, it's positive, and you're giving feedback to affirm the positive, or it's something that's outside a standard or needs to be improved, and so you're calling it out, okay? So we're going to talk about those two things. So the outline for both of these feedback conversations that anyone in your organization can use, you included, right, is use these initials. In fact, grab a piece of paper maybe. Hopefully you have something there that you could write it down. Put these three letters, O-I-S, okay? The O stands for observation, the I stands for impact, and S stands for standard. Okay, so the outline for both of these conversations, compliment and call out, is OIS, observation, impact, standard. Okay, so let's talk about the compliment first and how we can use this outline for a really powerful compliment. Okay, so let's start by this idea that a lot of times in workplaces, we don't get enough compliments. Okay, there's lots of research on that point that there just isn't enough compliments going around. And when they are out there, they're kind of, generic, maybe, or not as powerful and sincere, as impactful as they could be. They might be generic in the form of great job today or something like that. Great working with you today or something, that's just not enough, right? So the idea of this powerful compliment conversation and feedback conversation is that it gets very sincere, it gets very specific, and very impactful to promote positive change and improvement, okay? So compliment. So first, the observation, which is, what specifically did you observe, right? So it might be, I noticed, I heard, I saw. So that would be a great way to start this compliment conversation. I noticed when you were, taking care of that patient today, the way you taught them their new medications. I noticed how you did that, right? So it might be something like that. I noticed, I saw, I witnessed, or might be something that's more like behavior or subjective. It might be something like, I noticed that, when you come to work, you're always happy, smiley, energetic, excited about the day, right? And so, it could be something even subjective like that. Or it might be, I saw in your charting, or something like that. So what is it that you observed that you want to compliment? So the more specific you are, the better. Okay, so that makes it more powerful, the compliment. How you can make the compliment even more powerful and sincere is to then talk about the impact. Because you did that, this was the positive impact that's going to happen, or that I saw happened. So, because you come to work each day very energetic and positive and happy, that spills over to me as your coworker, right? It makes me feel more positive and energetic about the day when you're behaving that way. So so that's, the next way we can make the compliment more meaningful is to talk about the positive impact of what we observed. And then lastly, to really kind of make it a really great compliment, we could connect the dots to what standard that is upholding, right? So if it's a coworker with great behavior and you want to compliment them on that, what did you observe? What's the impact? And then what standard is that upholding? So maybe you have behavior standards related to, positivity in the workplace. So, that's really upholding our standard of positivity, and you're really a great role model for that. So when we connect the dots, that's how we can keep standards alive. So a lot of our partner organizations, they'll have behavior standards, they'll have communication standards, they'll have, evidence-based practices and standard work and things like that in place. But how do you actually bring these changes alive and keep them alive is to talk about them specifically and to recognize specifically to them. So if you could actually bring that up in the compliment. So instead of, great job today, 3 words, you might need 3 sentences. This is what I observed. This is the impact. And this is a standard that is in keeping with or support of. And that's how we keep and bring standards alive, is by positive reinforcement. And we want 3 times more positive conversations in our workplace than that for every time, one time we have to talk about when the standard wasn't met, right? So 3 times more positive. So, the other thing we can do if we're giving somebody a compliment after we, say those 3 things. What did I observe? What's the impact? And what standard does it connect to? And again, you don't always have to do all 3. Even if you did that first step, what did you observe? Hey, I noticed, I saw, I heard, someone was telling me about this, whatever was great. Thanks for doing that. That's really awesome. That kind of thing. So it couldn't be, it doesn't have to be all 3 every time, but it's more powerful if you use a complete outline. But after you give a compliment, if you're somebody that struggles with what you're complimenting someone on, then you might want to ask a question. You might want to say something like, can you share your tips with me about, how you make that happen? I'd like to learn that too. Would you share? Help me, be successful too. So when you're giving a compliment to someone, if it's something that you're also struggling with, you might want to have a mini consultation with them and ask them for their tips and tricks. So that would be a great ending to this conversation, okay? So that's the compliment. And again, you want 3 times more of those going on in your workplace to every one call out. We're going to talk about the call out next. And again, it's that same outline. What do we observe? What's the impact, and what standard does it connect to? Okay, so again, this is now in when the standard isn't being met, or something that's, not accordance to what it should be. So what did we observe, right? I observed that you were, teaching that patient on their new medications, but you left out the, the side effects or something like that. So you're calling them out on something that's not to standard. I noticed, okay? And this is meant to be positive too. A lot of people think that compliments, by nature are positive, but this is a positive way to support change when we call each other out. And in, really high accountable, improvement-minded, mature cultures, we're able to think of these call outs as positive too, and we can give them and receive them as this is something that's positive for all of us as we go about making this a better place to work and a better place for patients to receive care. So what do we observe? What's the impact? Because, he doesn't know about the side effects, he can't be helpful in reporting or watching for them, right? And what is our standard for safe medication practice and patient teaching, except on new meds? Our standard is X, okay? So this is how we can call somebody out when we observe something that's outside standard, and doing it in a way that gives helpful, honest feedback in the moment so that improvement can be made, okay? And then again, just like the compliment where we can get into a mini consultation session, even peer-to-peer, right? Peer-to-peer helpfulness is certainly a really great way to support positive change. We can ask questions after we do a call out too. And it might be, what's getting in your way? What ideas do you have that you think that might be helpful to make sure that every time this happens? What are you struggling with? What are the barriers? How can I help you? So at the end of the call out, you could engage in a conversation like that. I can think of many times in my workplace career in the hospital where I would do just that. And when I would say, I noticed what's getting in your way, what do you think would work to help you overcome this? Some of the best ideas that not only helped that person, but then helped other people too, because we could share those ideas. Some of the best problem solving, happened right there in the moment, okay? So imagine a workplace where this is just embraced and people are willing and able to give and receive feedback in this way, again, 3 times more positive than every one time we call someone out. So, lots of compliments going on, but could you imagine how much better we would do at making changes, making standards come alive, each individual and collectively, all of us going up and up and up, and what we're able to do in improving our culture, in improving our processes, etc. It would just be amazing if this kind of stuff was very plentiful conversation. And in fact, in top ranking, high achieving organizations, this kind of feedback system, this peer accountability and feedback system is really alive. And so maybe it's something you can bring alive in your own workplace, even starting with you. Maybe it starts with you being able to give feedback in this way, having the will and the skill to do it. And this is the skill. Using this outline, observe, impact, and the standard. That little outline right there, and then maybe some mini consultation with some great questions at the end of it. That is the skill of doing it. The will, got to be willing to do it, right? Got to be willing to just have those conversations in the moment. And the more we have them, the more willing and able we are to do it. So when we practice, we'll just get better and better at it, right? And you teach others to do it too. So if you're doing it, then you're teaching others how to do it too. So they could pay it forward and give more feedback in the workplace too. So there you go, guys. Hope you're able to think about, how you could just start giving more feedback where you work. And again, maybe outside of work work too, to family and friends. Give them lots of compliments and maybe call out too when you have to. Great way to parent, maybe, right? So thanks for your time today. Wanted to let you know that if you want to check out more of what we do at Capstone Leadership Solutions, capstoneleadership.net is our website, and there's information on how we work across the country with partner organizations, how we work with individual leaders through our e-learning courses or our public training events. So lots of information on there about what we do beyond what we do in this group, Fans of the Framework. So have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye for now.